Hi, Sophie. Can you hear us? You're on mute. Just
Yes, I
press.
can hear you,
Okay, we can hear you. Great, thanks.
but I can't see you.
Pardon?
I can't see you.
Okay. Once we get started, you will.
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this hybrid council meeting for the 22nd of January 2024. A decision has been made to close tonight's meeting to the public due to perceived public safety issues. The normal live webcast will be mimicked as much as possible, but because this is a remote meeting, we may run into a few technical issues. I ask that you be patient with us. If for some reason the webcast drops out, remember that the meeting will be placed on our website afterwards, that you can watch it at your leisure. Yes.
Madam Mayor, I'm just wanting you to clarify why the meeting has gone online and why the public have been shut out of this meeting.
Ms Gillies, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Garrard. We have an obligation to respond to ensure that our staff, our councillors and the community are safe. We've done a risk assessment in relation to this evening, and we've determined that for reasons of security, we needed to make this meeting a closed meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms Gillies. I have some sad news to share. Our CEO, Jackie Weatherall's husband, Simon Weatherall, passed away unexpectedly on Saturday. Our thoughts and deepest condolences are with Jackie and her family at this incredibly difficult time. While Jackie is on leave, Peter Gillies will undertake the role of acting CEO.
Madam Mayor, before you move on to the next item, can I just suggest that we have a 1 minute silence in respect of our CEO's husband?
Yep, we can do that. Thank you. We'll start the minute now. Thank you. Item 1.2, attendance. Apologies, please, Ms Gillies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Sean O'Reilly is an apology this evening. And we also have Councillor Sophie Tan online. Good evening, Sophie.
Thank you. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of traditional custodians of land. Those that choose to can stand for this. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay respect to their elders past and present. We acknowledge the traditional custodians, we recognise and respect their continuing connections to climate, culture, country and waters. And we also pay our respect and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and their elders who are watching today and acknowledging their journey. Item 1.4, offering of prayer, reflection or affirmation. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer, reflection or affirmation this evening was offered by Anita Devine from the Interfaith Network President, and Councillor Richard Lim Deputy Mayor will be reading it out this evening for us. If we could please stand.
Creator God, as we begin this new year with hope and positivity, let us together as one community work together to prevent harm by promoting respect and tolerance for the integrity of each person's belief, cultures and tradition, so that people of all faiths and none can live together in peace. Let us commit that people commit to creating a strong sense of belonging, leading to an increased respect for and share belief and value, resulting in deeper connections within our diverse community. Give us wisdom to listen with our whole being, what we may become a listening presence to each other, that we may enjoy and learn from our conversations and dialogue. Give us the generosity to listen with openness, the wisdom to understand what is heard, and the strength to be changed by what is shared, the listening that never judges, the curiosity of a child. Increase in us the peace to forgive and be forgiven, the reverence to honor both gift and loss, the acceptance that allows failure to be shared, and the prudence to know when not to speak, the surrender that treasures silence afterward. And given us the freedom to let my mystery be, the joys of celebrate new ventures, the readiness for laughter when it arises, the grace of listen with humble love, and the awe to hear when you speak in us. We ask this is all the names of God. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Trong, you can't because you weren't here the last meeting. Thank you, Councillor.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Lim, and seconder, Councillor Dark. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. 1.6, disclosures of interest. Ms Gillies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We actually have 3 disclosures of interest this evening, one from Councillor Mehmeti, one from Councillor Milkovic, and another one from Councillor Tim Dark.
Thank you. Item 1.7, Adoption of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes. If I could have a mover, please. Councillor Long. And a seconder, please. Councillor Milkovich. Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 2, Officers' Reports, Part 1, 2.1 Documents for Sealing, 2.1.1 Documents for Sealing. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Long. And seconder was Councillor Trong. Sorry. Councillor Dark. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wish to congratulate Anna Martinez from Community Strengthening for 20 years of service, Tam Pham from Community Strengthening for 10 years of service, Hannah Sue from Community Strengthening for 30 years of service, and Melissa Vartinian from Corporate Services for 10 years as well.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Dark. Item 2.2, Documents for Tabling, 2.2.1 Documents for Tabling. Could I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Lim. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Long. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 2.3, Statutory Planning Applications, 2.3.1, Towning Application Number 2331, Five Ways Boulevard, Keysborough. Planning Application Number PLN 23/0291. Thank you, Councillor Dark.
May I wish to declare a conflict of interest in this matter? My conflict of interest is a direct conflict of interest of a pecuniary nature in that my company is the owner's corporation manager for the complex.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Councillor Milkovich.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to declare conflict of interest. My interest is a non-direct interest of a pecuniary nation. I'm contracted, or my company, my employer is contracted to the OC manager that's managing the company, that's managing the complex.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. We'll wait for both councillors to leave the chambers. Thank you. Can I get a mover for this item, please? Can I get a mover, please? Thank you.
Happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Thank you, Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Could we ask the councillors to come back in, please? Item 2.3.2, Planning Delegated Decisions issued November and December 2023. Could I have a mover, please?
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Is there a seconder?
Second it.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 2.3.3, Planning Decisions issued by Planning Ministers Delegate November and December 2023. Could I have a mover, please?
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Thank you, Councillor Long. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 3, public question time. Question time at council meetings provides an opportunity for members of the public in the gallery to address questions to the councillors, delegates and/or officers of the Greater Dandenong City Council. Questions must comply with S 4.5.8 of Council's governance rules. Ms Gillies, if you could please read out the questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Given that the meeting this evening is closed to the public, we have actually contacted everyone that submitted a question requesting to read them out themselves and gave them the option of me reading the question for them or them reading those questions out at a subsequent meeting. All of them did take the option for me to read those questions out on their behalf. Our first question tonight, we do have quite a few questions, so we'll get through as many as we can within the time limit. The first question is from Mr Peter O'Loughlin from Dandenong regarding Greater Dandenong Heritage Study 1998. The Greater Dandenong Heritage Study 1998 has all but disappeared online. In the past, this was easily accessible by the City of Greater Dandenong's website. With some searching, there are pathways online to access some of these documents. However, it's proving to be non-accessible for many people interested in our local architectural and cultural history. Can Council please make Volume 1, 2 and 3 easy for the broader community to access by making these available on the Council website? I'll ask Mr Brett Jackson to respond to that. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Peter. Yes, unfortunately, these documents were unavailable on the website for a short period of time, but I'm pleased to advise that all 3 volumes of the Greater Dandenong Heritage Study are now available again on the Council website, and they can be found on the Greater Dandenong Heritage Study page of the website. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
Another question for Mr O'Loughlin this evening is in relation to a property for sale in Dandenong. Arthur Bainen's shop residence site 32 Hemming Street, Dandenong is currently advertised for sale. This site is noted for its significance in the study as having an unusual combination of well-preserved interwar shop with shop fronts and attached residence, each with their own street character. The current advertisement suggests this site is appropriate for multi-unit development. Can the relevant officer please confirm that this building is protected by an active heritage overlay? This site is currently occupied. Does Council have a process to ensure that sites such as 32 Hemming Street, Dandenong, do not succumb to demolition by neglect? Mr Jackson.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you again for the question, Peter. I can confirm that the building at 32 Hemming Street, Dandenong is covered by a heritage overlay under the Greater Dandenong Planning Scheme. With regards to the potential for demolition by neglect, the state government have recently introduced changes to the Planning and Environment Act 1987 that do provide some powers to deal with this should a site be at risk. While the site does appear to be somewhat unkept, at this time it does not appear to be at risk of demolition by neglect. However, officers will continue to monitor the site. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
We have a number of questions this evening in relation to the notice of motion, which we'll be addressing later in tonight's agenda. I'll read out each of these questions, but we'll respond to them in terms of we will be addressing this matter in more detail at the appropriate item tonight. Question number 1, in relation to the Palestinian flag notice of motion. After immigrating from Israel in the 80s, my father established our family business in Dandenong, and we have been a ratepayer ever since. We have employed thousands of people contributing to the local community philanthropically, socially and financially. We have a family member murdered at the Nova Music Festival. We feel strong concern around Council's decision to stray outside of its remit to foreign affairs. Your councillors were not elected to do so. You have been elected to serve your local community. Your decision to spend $5,000 of ratepayers' money to construct a flagpole to put up a Palestinian flag is highly questionable. Since the 7th of October, anti-Semitism has increased by nearly 800% in Australia. How do you think your decision to fly the Palestinian flag permanently until a ceasefire is reached contributes to the unity, understanding and inclusivity which are stated in the aims of this exercise? If so, will you also be flying the Israeli flag in solidarity with the Jewish and Israeli community? giving City of Greater Dandenong is a, quote, multicultural, multi-faith and diverse community. Why does your notice of motion make no mention of attacks on October 7th, 2023, which resulted in 1,200 murdered Israelis? Have you consulted with the Jewish community, your Jewish ratepayers and residents in constructing this notice of input? There are several other questions with similar content in them. I won't read them all out individually. I'll just read those that actually call out differing views. On page 116, paragraph 5 of your notice of motion, you correctly point out there has been an increase in anti-Semitic attacks. Can you explain how your proposal to fly the Palestinian flag, which will endorse hatred for Israel, will do anything other than to increase anti-Semitism and attacks on Jews? How will the City of Greater Dandenong ensure that Hamas observes a ceasefire, given that to date it has continuously breached ceasefires? How will Council ensure that Hamas does not repeat the events of October 7th following a ceasefire, given that it has vowed to repeat its actions? The remainder of the questions in relation to the notice of motion are similar to those that I have read. We will respond to each of these individually in the minutes following tonight's meeting and following the outcome of the notice of motion, which is for discussion later this evening. I move on to the next question from Mr. Philip Lamaro in relation to the LGBTIQA+ Pride March. 3 months ago, CEO Jackie Weatherall, the Mayor, and other councillors marched to show support of domestic violence and to bring awareness to the issue, an issue they felt very strongly about to dedicate their time and to show support to. Last year, neither the CEO nor any councillors marched under the Greater Dandenong banner in the LGBTIQA+ Pride March. As homophobia is increasing in the City of Greater Dandenong, will the CEO, the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and councillors march this year to show their support and dedication of inclusivity of the LGBTIQA+ community in Greater Dandenong? I'm actually wearing 2 hats this evening, so I'll respond to this question in the capacity of Executive Director, Community Strengthening. And thank you, Philip, for your question and ongoing discussions with myself on this matter. The Mayor, councillors and staff have all been invited to attend the march in Fitzroy Street on Sunday 4th of February as part of the annual Midsummer Pride March, celebrating solidarity in gender and sexual diversity. This is the 3rd year the Greater Dandenong City Council staff have taken part in the march, and we believe this year will be bigger than previous years. Another question from Mr. Lamaro about rainbow stickers. Last year I asked about Dandenong Council facilities having the rainbow sticker on them to show support of the LGBTQA+ community, like many other councils already do. Council advised they will look at having these installed on both the Dandenong and Springvale libraries. This represents less than 5% of Greater Dandenong facilities having these stickers. Can Council please explain why so few facilities are having these stickers to represent inclusivity? I'll again respond to this one, Madam Mayor. And again, thank you, Philip, for your question and again, ongoing discussions with myself. As detailed at the Council meeting on 13 November 2023, no official decision has been made by Council on this matter as yet, and consideration will be given to this initiative, including any applicable budgetary requirements in the 2024/2025 budget process. Budgetary review processes have now commenced, and the 2024/2025 budget is scheduled for Council endorsement in June this year. One final question from Mr. Lamaro is in relation to the LGBTQA+ action plan. Dandenong Council is investigating having an LGBTIQA+ action plan and committee like many other councils already do. Can Council please provide an update on how these are progressing and when these will be presented to councillors? I'll again respond to this one, Madam Mayor. Philip, as detailed at the Council meeting on 23rd of October, we are first engaging with a number of regional stakeholders to investigate options for an advisory committee or a regional network, which will encompass a variety of stakeholders, including neighbouring councils, local organisations and community members. This consultation process will include discussion with representatives from the Australian LGBTIQ Multicultural Council. The consultation process is anticipated to take at least 6 months, as it is dependent on resourcing and availability of other resources, per my response to the previous question. A report with officer recommendations will be brought to Council for consideration in due course. Our next question is from Mr Andrew Hamer from Dandenong South regarding Progress Street in Dandenong. I refer to the imminent closure of Progress Street, Dandenong South, and the planned diversion of the level crossing removal project, LXRP, of all that traffic up Fowler Road. As Fowler Road is clearly being repurposed, I would like to confirm that the design conforms to the Victorian Planning Authority standards for a trunk connection, and that these have been used to assess what compromises are made in the road safety audit and safe systems analysis that should have been provided to Council now that final plans have been released. Sorry, there's a bit more. We remain concerned about diverting the extra 5,600 additional vehicles, also bikes, EDVs, pedestrians and super over-dimensional cranes across 30 active heavy goods driveways, as this is dangerous, particularly due to the number and the sharpness of the bends. I assume Council is aware that JDN Monocrane has been advised that to exit Fowler Road, they will need to go on the wrong side of the traffic lights and over the median strip, stopping traffic both ways on the South Gippsland Highway for up to 15 minutes. Has Council seen the latest RSA and SSAs, and is Council totally satisfied with, and do you endorse, the plans that LXRP have now presented and commencing construction with? We are also concerned that the closure will force cyclists and pedestrians to illegally cross the tracks rather than go the additional 1.6 kilometres around, particularly having to walk or ride on Fowler Road, as there is no provision for cyclists or pedestrians to cross Fowler Road. The LXRP have stated that they are not precluded in the future. Does Council have any plans to solve these issues?
If Mr Jackson could please respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Andrew. With regards to Fowler Road, Council officers only have the community plans and updates to comment on at this time. To this extent, we can advise that we anticipate that the carriageway width will now be consistent with the standards for industrial roads carrying the anticipated volumes. We expect that the plans have considered the relevant Australian standards and Austroad guidelines. The VPA standards are based on these. In terms of JDN Monocrane, following advocacy by Council, LXRP and Freight Victoria, an offer has been made to their consultants and certified pilots to meet to discuss any concerns they have, and we would encourage them to take this offer up. The road safety audits and safe systems assessments are being reviewed by Council officers as they are made available. As stated, we do not have the new designs for Fowler Road. The LXRP is delivering this works under the provisions of the Major Projects Facilitation Act, and Council's endorsement of these is not required as part of the process. However, any auditor comments inadequately addressed may further aid Council's advocacy on the project. And finally, Council is disappointed that the footpath along Fowler Road has been removed from the scope and only found out at the same time as this information was made publicly available. Council will be advocating for the footpath to be funded as part of the project. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
A further question this evening relating to Progress Street, Dandenong, from Mr Colin Smith of Dandenong South. With respect to the Progress Street closure by LXRP and recognising safety concerns raised by the Nathan Road/Fowler Road community and CGD traffic engineers, will the Mayor please write another letter of rejection and immediate cessation of all construction works until all safety elements of both the CGD traffic engineers and the local community are met? When was the council made aware that the Fowler Road footpath, as promised, was deleted from the LXRP scope, and why? And finally, as the footpath appears to have become the scope of CGD, will it be completed prior to the closing of Progress Street, and what will be the cost to Dandenong ratepayers?
Thanks. If Mr Jackson could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, again, and thank you for the question, Colin. A draft letter will be prepared for the Mayor to respond to the latest correspondence from the Victorian Government and LXRP. This will include a funding request for the footpath and ongoing effective communication with the community. As mentioned in my previous response, Council only became aware of the removal of the footpath when this information was made publicly available.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
The next question is from Matthew Kerwin of Noble Park. I went with my family to the recent New Year's Eve event at Dandenong Park. The event inside the park was well run and a great success. The event helped a lot of business in central Dandenong, which is why I think keeping the event in central Dandenong is vital. However, as the event continues to grow, I can't say that what I saw in terms of traffic and parking behaviour is sustainable any longer. We took public transport, but the vast majority drove, and I saw plenty of dangerous driving and illegal parking. There was illegal parking wherever possible, including in places in Dandenong Park and Woodcock Reserve, where there were no fences stopping it, causing damage to those parks. People getting out of those illegal car parking spaces in Dandenong Park near the creek had to avoid running over pedestrians as they backed directly onto Lonsdale Street. I also saw dangerous driving, including cars driving on pedestrian footpaths on Lonsdale Street. While encouraging people to walk to Dandenong Park from Dandenong Rail Station or other nearby locations is a good idea, it is not if it is unsafe pedestrian environment. What will be done differently next year to address the parking and traffic issues the increasingly larger event is causing and the danger to pedestrian safety? In particular, will blocking off streets or moving the event back to Walker Street near the Dandenong Civic Centre and Dandenong Railway Station where the event began be considered to make it a pedestrian safe event? Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll also respond to this one. We certainly agree that while Council's New Year's Eve event was deemed a great success, challenges with attendee parking, particularly on Lonsdale Street, were noted. Our event debriefing process is now underway and Council is committed to further planning in partnership with our traffic management contractor and Victoria Police to maximise the safety of all who attend in future years. This could certainly include a marketing campaign around event car parking and pedestrian safety, temporary security fencing, further traffic management and additional road closures. Our next question is from Scott Peters from Dandenong regarding the Vanity Lane project. Can Council please provide an update to the Vanity Lane project and the expected start and completion date of this project?
Thank you. Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Scott. The demolition of the fire-damaged building at 275 Lonsdale Street to make way for Vanity Lane pedestrian priority lane is anticipated to occur this year. However, there are still some details to be finalised before specific dates on the demolition can be confirmed. Council's website for the Vanity Lane project provides an update on the status of the project, and this will continue to occur as the project progresses.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
Our next question is from Isabel Nash from Keysborough in relation to Climate Emergency Engagement and Mobilisation Plan. When is Greater Dandenong Climate Emergency Engagement and Mobilisation Plan going to be exhibited?
Thank you. Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Isabel. The draft plan is currently being finalised and is being based on the feedback received during the consultation period previously undertaken. It is anticipated the community will be informed of the draft plan in approximately April 2024.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
A further question from Isabel Nash regarding Notice of Motion 31. Referring to the discussion at the Council meeting on 11 December 2023, Agenda Item 4.3.5, Response to Notice of Motion 31, Preparedness of Impacts of Climate-Related Events in Summer 23-24. At what Council meeting will the newer, more comprehensive report come to? Through you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Ms Gillies.
Again, thank you, Isabel, for your question. In addition to the work that Mr Jackson just outlined in relation to the Climate Emergency and Mobilisation Plan, the more comprehensive report will have input from a number of directorates and is due to be tabled for the Council meeting on 27 May 2024. Final question from Isabel Nash this evening. Annual progress report for the Biodiversity Action Plan. Late last year, it was mentioned at a Council meeting that the annual progress report for the Biodiversity Action Plan would be tabled at a Council meeting in February to March. Is this still on track?
Thanks, Mr Jackson. If you could respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thanks again for the question, Isabel. As per the previous response in November last year, the community will receive the first annual progress report on the Greater Dandenong Biodiversity Action Plan in March this year, being the first anniversary of the plan's endorsement. This is still on track and will most likely occur via Council's public website and promotion on social media.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
Our next question and 1, 2, 3, 4 following relate to the Webster Street level crossing. The first one from Pam Naylor in Noble Park. When will the Council's Webster Street level crossing submission be going on the Council website?
Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Pam. The Council website has a page for the Webster Street level crossing removal under the Council Projects and Works section of the website. This page includes a summary of Council's consultation response. We've made some changes to this page so that hopefully it is much easier for the community to locate on the website. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Jackson. Ms Gillies.
A further question on the Webster Street level crossing from Elizabeth Grasso in Keysborough. What is Council doing to advocate specifically for the retention of the 2 very large trees at the end of Broadland Street, Dandenong, that are at risk from the Webster Street level crossing removal project?
Mr Jackson, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Elizabeth. Council's advocacy includes seeking an increase in net tree canopy and vegetation as a result of this project. As such, we will be advocating to retain all possible trees and for additional plantings. Due to the level of detail at this time, it is not possible to comment on specific trees until more design information is available. However, we will review those documents at that time.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
Again, regarding the Webster Street level crossing, as part of its advocacy around the Webster Street level crossing removal, what is Council advocating for in terms of accessibility to and size of the northern part of Woodcock Reserve? In particular, is it advocating for the expansion of Woodcock Road onto the Cove training site? Is Council advocating for a shared path to be included as part of the Cheltenham Road extension that will go under the railway line? And if not, why not?
Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Leah. As part of Council's advocacy around this project, we are advocating for an increase in the area and quality of open space available in the proximity to the residential and industrial areas along the Dandenong Creek corridor. Woodcock's Reserve and the Cove training site are potential areas for this to be achieved, but this will need to be further worked through as further designs are made available. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
Our last question this evening on the Webster Street level crossing is from Duncan Cumming in Springvale. What is Greater Dandenong Council doing to enable resident input into the environmental management framework for the Webster Street level crossing removal project, given that the LXRP do not allow resident input into this document, instead claiming that the very general consultation in November and December last year has sufficed in that regard, when clearly this was not a consultation into the specific framework in question?
Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Again, through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Duncan. Based on previous experience with major projects, we are not expecting that the community will be given a further opportunity to provide comments on specific documents such as the Environmental Management Framework. Council also had a limited opportunity to comment on this particular framework. However, Council will take community feedback into consideration when providing its response to the LXRP on the project. In addition, we will be advocating to the LXRP for ongoing communication and opportunities for the community to provide feedback through the project's development.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
Our next question is from Pam Naylor of Noble Park in relation to Railway Parade Noble Park. Which trees/plants on the new Noble Park in Railway Parade Noble Park are going to be kept and which ones are going to be removed?
Mr Jackson, please. Thanks.
Again, through you, Madam Mayor, and thanks for the question, Pam. Council officers have now reviewed all of the comments received during the community consultation period for this concept plan and are updating the concept plan as a result. As part of this, it is now intended to retain all trees on site except for one small yucca plant that is required for removal.
Thanks, Mr Jackson.
Our next question, also from Pam Naylor in Noble Park, regarding Springvale Community Hub Cafe. Greater Dandenong Council has a public aim to be one of Australia's most sustainable cities by 2030. Is it going to wait until 2030 to stop Springvale Community Hub Cafe kiosk of only having disposable cups, or will it lead by example and do it this year?
Thanks. If I could ask our new Director for Corporate Development, Andrew Foley, to respond, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor. As I believe we've advised previously, the current lease doesn't have any specific provisions in it for council as landlord to dictate to the tenant how to operate its business, especially with respect to the serving of drinks. I understand when there's provision to develop a new lease, we will consider that in the new lease.
Thank you, Mr Foley. Keep going. Thanks.
Our next question is from Elizabeth Grasso of Keysborough in relation to the cat curfew. Has enforcement of the new cat curfew started, and if not, why not? Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll respond to this one also.
Thank you.
The City of Greater Dandenong cat curfew came into effect in 2023. The curfew states that cat owners must confine their pets on their property from dusk until dawn. A comprehensive community education campaign is underway explaining the change. Although enforcement of the curfew has begun, Council will begin infringing from 10 April 2024 to ensure that we've given cat owners time to adjust and prepare. A further question from Elizabeth Grasso in Keysborough in relation to the tree protection local law. Has enforcement of the tree protection local law started, and if not, why not? Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll also respond to this one, and thank you, Elizabeth, for your question. The tree protection on private lands local law is currently in force and being administered by council officers. A further advertisement will appear in the Government Gazette clarifying wording that was incorrect due to an administrative error. However, that wording does not affect the validity of the law as being in force. A further question in relation to the tree protection local law from Leah Anderson of Dandenong. Will there be information about the tree protection local law in the February 2024 edition of the Council News magazine? And if not, why not? Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Leah, for the question.
Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just seeking for further clarification on the point that Ms Gillies just made regarding the erroneous gazetting of the wrong local law. If the law that was gazetted was not the certified and verified and legally approved version, was that law actually in place during that time?
Ms Gillies.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Garrard. We've certainly had it confirmed that it absolutely was in place during that time by a third party. I've had that confirmed. So yes, it was in place. And the re-gazetting in relation to the administrative error is due to be published as soon as the Gazette is able to do so.
Thanks, Ms Gillies.
I'll just come back to the question from Leah Anderson, if I can, in relation to the information about the new tree protection local law. Will it be in the February 2024 edition of the Council News magazine? And if not, why not? Leah, thank you for your question. As part of a larger educational program, the tree protection on private land local law will feature in the April 2024 Council News magazine. However, there will be communication shared with the community as part of our education program prior to that date. Next question from Anthony Anderson in Springvale South regarding illegal parking in Springvale South. I would like to see something done about the constant illegal parking between Noble Street traffic lights and Sunrise Court, Springvale South. There is a solid white line down the centre of the road towards the traffic lights. Numerous car parks are there and it makes it hard to get out of the driveways on Athol Road. No standing signs should be enforced and then new speed signs put up due to the speeding cards on Athol Road. Through you, Madam Mayor, I will also respond to this question. And thank you, Anthony, for your question. Council's parking officers will assign a targeted patrol of this area to gather further information related to illegal parking. An assessment of the current road signage will be explored once education enforcement avenues are exhausted and issues remain present. Our next question from Scott Peters in Dandenong relates to the Children's Court in Dandenong. The surrounding area around the new Children's Court in Dandenong has temporary plastic bollards around it due to safety. This is extremely unattractive. I have looked at the Greater Dandenong website and there's no mention of works to be done surrounding this building in the current project section. Could Council please explain if works are to be completed around the base of the new Children's Court? When will this be done? And if there are works, why is this not on the Dandenong website under current projects for residents to see?
Thanks, Ms Gillies. I'll ask Mr Jackson to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the additional question, Scott. Court Services Victoria are currently developing plans for external works near the new Children's Court. These works are expected to include traffic signals at the intersection of Langhorne Street and Foster Street and may also include additional street furniture and barriers/bollards. These works are not council works and will be funded and delivered by Court Services Victoria and the Victorian Government. So at this point in time, we're unable to confirm the exact timeframes for when these works will be delivered. In terms of the temporary bollards, Council has approved a given temporary approval for these bollards, but it's important to note that they are only temporary and they will not be supported as a permanent long-term solution.
Thanks, Mr Jackson. Councillors, we still have many questions to get through. Would you like to move a motion to extend public question time? Can I? Or we've got the option to take the remainder on notice and include them in the minutes. Councillor Garrett?
I would like to propose that we take them on notice and table the further questions.
Thank you. So can I have a seconder, please?
So I'll second that.
Excellent. Thank
Just
you.
as long as all councillors have a receipt of all the questions asked.
Sorry, Councillor.
As long as councillors, after this tomorrow morning, have a copy of all the questions asked at this council meeting that weren't asked or answered.
Responded. Yep, absolutely. We can do that. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding that? Any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. You can have a breather, Ms Gillies. Item 4, Officers' Reports Part 2, 4.1 Policy and Strategy. 4.1.1 Review of Council Policies, Policies for Abolition, please. Abolition, sorry. Do I have a mover, please? I'll move. Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.2, Other. 4.2.1 Community Safety Advisory Committee meeting minutes. If I could have a mover, please. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Long. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Are there any questions?
May I have a question?
Yes, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I have just a question to the relevant officer? The rooming house engagement project, that is something that we've gone out to tender and then subsequently appointed a contractor with, and I'm aware of the issues that we have in the municipality, and I'm on the second page of the minutes. Just to get an update from the relevant officer how the engagement group is going along and where things are currently up to as well with the rooming house group.
Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Dark. I will have to take that question on notice and come back to you with some more detail later this week, if that's okay.
Thanks, Mr Jackson. Are there any questions? Further questions? Any opposition? That item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.2.2, draft minutes of Multicultural and People Seeking Asylum Advisory Committee. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Dark. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Trong. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.2.3, draft minutes, Springvale Community Hub Committee meeting, 23rd of October 2023. Can I have a mover, please?
Miss.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dark. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.2.4, draft minutes of Disability Advisory Committee meeting, 16th of October 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Long. Seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.2.5, draft minutes of Positive Ageing Advisory Committee meeting 12th of October 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Trong. Seconder?
Seconded. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.2.6, appointment of Non-Executive Director, Dandenong Market Proprietary Limited, DMPL. Councillor Mehmeti.
I declare a direct material conflict of interest of non-procurity. I declare that the nature of interest is described as I am a director of a company that has a stall at the Dandenong Market.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. We'll wait for Councillor Mehmeti to leave the chambers. Could I have a mover for this item, please?
Happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dark. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? That item is carried. Could we please ask Councillor... one moment, sorry. Councillor Dark?
Thank you, Mayor. May I just wish to congratulate Mr Jim Cooper on his appointment for a 3-year term to the Dandenong Market Board. As a former representative of the council on the Market Board, and certainly with the background that Mr Tom Mollenkoff had in law and economics and on the Water Board, to be able to find somebody who has a suitable calibre with their experience in law and economics, work within the professional services sector as well, I think that Jim Cooper will form a very formidable person on the board and hopefully be able to get the Dandenong Market back into a position it was prior to COVID, and being able to boost it and provide significant advice. So I just wish to congratulate him as well. And just also as well to Tom Mollenkoff for 9 years on the Dandenong Market Board is a significant achievement, particularly given where the market was 9 years ago when the Savills contract was terminated and Council created DMPL to get it to where it is today, where now we're actually working through many different strategies and plans in place. The last market coming up on Thursday night, I think it is. It's been a formidable achievement. So congratulations to him and congratulations to Jim as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dark. If we could ask Councillor Mehmedi to come back into the chambers, please. Item 4.2.7, report on matters discussed at council briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Long. Seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.2.8, list of registered correspondence to Mayor and Councillors. Could I have a mover, please?
Happy to move.
Thanks, Councillor Milkovich. Seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Are there any questions?
I've got a question, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Just in regards
Councillor
to a letter
Milkovich.
from Cornerstone regarding support required to stay in the church premises to operate the Christmas kitchen and bits and pieces. Has there been a resolution in regards to their request?
I'm so sorry, I can't
That's
hear
right.
the question.
A letter from Cornerstone regarding the issues that had been operating from the Cornerstone in James Street. Has the issue been resolved?
Sure, I'll get Mr Jackson to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Milkovich. Yes, officers are currently working with the CEO of Cornerstone to resolve the matter, and we believe we do have a way forward that will resolve it for everyone satisfactorily. So, yeah, I believe that's all in hand.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yep, that's it. Thanks, Mr Jackson. Thanks, Councillor Milkovich. Item 5, notices of motion. Item 5.1, notice of motion number 34, display of the Palestinian flag on the Greater Dandenong Peace Flagpole until a permanent ceasefire is in place in Gaza. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Garrard.
Happy to second.
Councillor Mehmedi as the seconder. Is there any opposition? Councillor Long, in opposition. Councillor Garrard, if you'd like to speak to the motion, please, you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. You confirm that I have 5 minutes to respond at this time? That's right. Yep. Thank you, Mayor. This notice of motion proposes that the City of Greater Dandenong continuously displays the Palestinian flag until a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. The gesture symbolises our solidarity with the many members of our community who are affected by the ongoing conflict and serves as a poignant call for peace. The flag will be flown as a representation of our collective hope for a swift and enduring ceasefire in the region and our unwavering support for the conflict resolution and for harmony. This conflict currently is in its 107th day. The Israeli government has now indicated it will go until 2025. It is the most violent conflict in the 21st century, and every 7 minutes a child is killed, and every 10 minutes a woman is killed. So many children have been killed and affected and maimed, including having limbs removed without anaesthetic, that there has been a new term has had to be formed, which is wounded child, no surviving family. The scale of the death and destruction that is happening in Gaza right now is unprecedented in our lifetime. 85% of the population are affected. The majority of housing has been affected. 320 schools have been destroyed. 1,600 industrial facilities have been destroyed. 183 health facilities have been destroyed. 239 mosques, 3 churches, and around 170 press offices targeted. As indicated or stated by one of the lawyers who made a representation to the International Court of Justice for a determination on genocide of this conflict, Brene Ni Harley, a prominent Irish lawyer, she emphasises the urgency of halting the current conflict to prevent further destruction, and that the City of Greater Dandenong, as part of the Australian Government, has a role in supporting peace and must stand in solidarity with those affected. The urgency of this motion is further underscored by the need to mitigate the increase in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic attacks. The anti-Semitic attacks is a phenomenon corroborated by numerous studies, including a significant report by the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, which indicates that events in the Middle East often catalyse anti-Semitic sentiment. The rationale for displaying the flag is to signify commitment to inclusivity and recognition of the diverse cultural backgrounds within our community. The presence of the flag contributes to the promotion of understanding and the appreciation of different cultures, fostering a unity among residents. The expression of solidarity displaying the Palestinian flag demonstrates our solidarity with communities locally and globally, emphasising our commitment to peace, justice and human rights. I would just like to finish by reading an email that I have received today, that we have all received, from a resident who asks that urges us to feel our connection to our humanity and to let the flag stand and to do the right thing, to be on the right side of history with the Dandenong people. The person who wrote this asks that we stand strong, that we make a strong stand in solidarity with the community and make a strong statement to the government that the whole of Australia is calling for a ceasefire. 100,000 people continue to rally each Sunday in support of a ceasefire in the city. There are millions of people protesting around the world. On the weekend, we saw thousands of Israelis marching on their own government, calling for new leadership. We are seeing within the war cabinet of the Israeli government are also stating they need a ceasefire if they are to get the hostages back safely. There is no justification for the continuing massacre of civilians who are now starving, without water, without communication. The $20 million the Australian government just promised will sit at the border, will not be able to get in to the people of Gaza who are currently now collapsing with hunger. So I implore my fellow councillors to stand with the community and support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Councillor Mehmedi as the seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. Some have questioned if it is our role to stand in solidarity with our residents during their darkest hours, such as the current conflict in Gaza. That is the deadliest war of the 21st century. I put to you that not only is it the right thing to do, but that it is consistent with what we have done many times in the past, as have the National Congress of Local Government. Examples include National General Assembly of Local Government stood unanimously with Ukraine, affirming our collective support for peace and stability. We were united in support of our Afghan community as their homeland faced turmoil. And again, on October 24, 2022, we recognised and condemned the violence against the Hazara people in Afghanistan. And lastly, the Council voted in solidarity to support our African community in 2018. Our actions have consistently demonstrated our dedication to our community, particularly here in Greater Dandenong, where over 160 different nationalities live. We are Victoria's second largest humanitarian settlement area, and global conflicts inevitably impact our residents, whether through loss, distress or financial strain, as residents send money back to their homelands. The current conflict in Gaza is unprecedented, deeply affecting large sections of our community. It is not only the right thing, but necessary that we stand in solidarity with them at this critical juncture. Our voice must join theirs in calling for a permanent ceasefire and for peace and stability in Gaza. In doing so, we reaffirm our commitment as a multicultural community, one that not only recognises but actively supports needs of its members. I will now quote a letter Councillor Garrard and myself received. Dear Councillor Garrard and Mehmeti, as a resident of Greater Dandenong, I am extremely pleased to see that you have proposed for a Palestinian flag to be flown until a permanent ceasefire is achieved. I was so proud of our council when the motion supporting a ceasefire in Gaza was passed in November. However, at a time when people for speaking about Israel's war crimes, I was brought to tears when I saw the Palestinian flag raised in Harmony Square. A flag is such a simple sign of solidarity and visually demonstrates to our multi-faith and multicultural community that everyone, regardless of geography, religious belief or ethnicity, deserves human rights. Thank you for proposing that we build a dedicated flagpole so that our support can continue as long as it needs. This shows that the Council not only cares, but you also are willing to go the extra mile. I hope that you too can work with the rest of the councillors to ensure that they remember that the community supports peace and the end of the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. I know that the negotiation with other councillors will be a lot of work for both of you, and I'm sure you are getting a lot of abuse from people who think that Palestinian lives do not matter. Still, your hard work is not going unnoticed, and your leadership is much more appreciated and gives me hope for a better future. Thank you, and keep up the good works, Mrs. Williams. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. First in opposition, Councillor Long, if you'd like to speak to the item.
Although I'm against all conflicts around the world, I object to this notice of motion because flying the Palestinian flag on our flagpoles makes the public believe that Council is supporting one community against the other. Council is an all-inclusive, not exclusive Council and encourages peace and harmony in our community. That is why I will be voting no to this notice of motion and encouraging my fellow councillors to do the same.
Okay, are there any other speakers that would like to speak to this item before we go to a vote? No? Okay.
I will speak to it.
Okay, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I rise up to echo the sentiment of Councillor Long with her motion as well and what her point of view is. Since I was elected to this council in Australia's most multicultural municipality, we have always prided ourselves on not picking a side, on supporting every single nationality, every single group that comes here, and that is what has separated us from many other councils around Australia and consistently separates us to these days. Picking a side and then having one side against another is incredibly divisive. And this is a conflict where there are no winners at all. There are absolutely no winners. Both sides have got issues, but it needs to be reminded that this, and echoing the sentiment of this motion, has deliberately been staged to support one side. To go down the path of supporting one side when we have both of the groups living in our municipality is significantly concerning. I think that every single councillor in this council chamber has received over 1,100 emails in the last 4 days. I know I've got just under 1,000 left after the ones that I've replied to. And people are raising significant concerns. When a motion is able to be lodged and gets significant coverage in the media and significant coverage from the local communities, who in return take time out of their day to write significant emails and letters and text messages and calls of concern, there are issues, and there are issues that need to be addressed. The motion does not recognise or make any mention, as what's been raised, about what happened on the 7th of October and the massacre that happened of people my age and people around my age group who attended a music festival that was attacked by Hamas. Subsequent to that, hostages taken and all the grave tragedies that has happened there as well. But it does cast shadow amongst other things that have happened as well. Whilst I understand where the sentiment is coming from the community, and I understand the sentiment that we are getting from both sides, it needs to be very, very important that this council remains neutral. And we've picked a side in the last time that this motion, a similar motion was lodged at the end of last year. A letter was written to the Premier which outlines significant concerns following on from the notice of motion. And embarrassingly enough, we got a reply from the Minister, Minister Horn, which basically states, "Dear Councillor Formoso, thank you for your email dated, etc." And the last one, "Our responsibility in Victoria is to ensure that the people directly affected by this crisis are provided with care and support, with a particular focus on making sure that people in our community feel safe. The Israeli and Hamas conflict is a complex global situation that needs to be negotiated by world leaders rather than the Victorian local government sector." Now, that clearly is showing that this is an item which is well outside the remit of local government. It is well outside the remit of what we should be and what we should be here to do. We have significant issues in this council with the rollout of 3-year-old kinder, with the provision of aged care services, with the allocation of other items, with rate capping in an inflationary market. And to go out where this has taken so much air and space, officers' time, it's made staff in the organisation feel unsafe, is a reason why this is an item that should not be supported. And I would implore my colleagues to refuse this notice of motion.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the item? Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you. I rise to oppose this notice of motion on a number of different reasons. I'll be brief without going into intricate detail of that Councillor Dark mentioned as to who started what and what the reprimands were and what the repercussions were. I'd like to say that, in my personal opinion, raising a flag, any flag for that matter, in this municipality is quite likely to offend someone within our community, whether that's a Palestinian flag, an Israeli flag, a Serbian flag, a Kosovo flag, or German flag. There's sure to be someone within our community who will, for whatever reason, be offended by that particular flag. We are very multicultural in this municipality, and I think while we do need to support our community in a time of grieving and a time of conflict overseas, we also need to be mindful that our actions here do not represent one side, and also that our actions do not further inflame the situation within our community. As much as we feel for the victims, whether they're on the Palestinian side or Israeli side or in Yemen or anywhere in the world, our country, Australia, our city has been welcoming to refugees and people seeking asylum and people looking for a better life, escaping violence from the war, from persecution, from genocide, for whatever that might be. We have welcomed each and every one of them with open arms. But what we have to be mindful of is that our actions here stop representing one side, whatever side that is, and cause division and inflame racial and social implications within our community. As Councillor Dark mentioned, I was actually going to refer to the letter from Honourable Melissa Horn. He's obviously read the parts of it, which clearly states that this is no role of the local government. We should really be focusing on local issues. And furthermore, to my to my argument against flying the flag is, my personal opinion, if I can put 2 cents worth, is that the only flag that should be flying on flagpoles in front of councils is really the Australian flag. Because this is the country that has afforded us, all of us, every single one of us, whether we were born here or whether we migrated here or whether we seek asylum here, a chance and opportunity to start a new life. We have come here, myself personally, from a war-torn country, so I know exactly what it feels like, in a search of a better life. And we need to make sure that whatever we do, we draw our community close together. As much as we might feel for one side versus the other, we need to make sure that all our residents are represented equally. We need to make sure that we don't take sides and that we offer support to each and every member of our community, and that's why I'll be rising to oppose this notice of motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Trong.
Thank you, Mayor. I was born and grew up in the Vietnam War, about 20 years. I know the feeling and everything the Palestinians face at the moment in the war. But however, I think the people in Australia should be equal, and our other communities in our city, they equal together. We have the flag raising policy already. We base on it to teach with everyone are equal. However, with the thinking and feeling that, I think if the council can, spend about some money to Red Cross or Oscar to support the Palestinians in the war at the moment, is what we can do for them. But I agree that every community should be treated equal. They apply for permit when raise up their flag for event or something like that, but they should take off after the event finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trong. Any other councillors that wish to speak to this? No? Councillor Garrard, your right of reply as the mover.
Madam Mayor, can you confirm the timer?
4 minutes with no extensions.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I thank all the speakers for their heartfelt sentiments. I refer first to the letter from the Minister, the Local Government Minister, and it is with deep disappointment that we received a letter from the Minister not only recognising the distress in the community, but her refusal to take action and advocate, as we asked, to the federal government, for the Australian government to call for a ceasefire. It's deeply, deeply disappointing, and it's also it's hard to understand why she didn't step in when every council in Australia voted unanimously to support Ukraine, which was the right thing to do, and which every councillor here, I think, supported. It was the right thing to do to support the Hazara genocide, and I believe there were a majority of councillors that supported that at the time. It was the right thing to do to support the African community, who at the time were under great difficulty, and I believe there was a majority vote there. It was the right thing to do to support the Sri Lankan community, who are under extreme duress. All of those things were the right thing to do because we are the closest level of government to our community. We understand their pain and we stand in solidarity. We are not taking sides. We are not taking sides, but we are saying that members of our community, one of which has lost 68 members of his extended family, and we are standing with them with the extraordinary level of deaths and destruction and now starvation, where the majority of Palestinians are now unable to eat, have no communication, have nowhere to live, and are mourning. Some members have lost many, many generations of their family. We are standing with them in this hour. And the urgency of every day, because tomorrow another 177 children will be murdered. Tomorrow another 110 women will be murdered. Tomorrow more will starve as the food sits at the border and is unable to get to them. This is urgent. The flag is flying as a symbol of urgency for everyone, every level of government, to strongly advocate to our federal government to vote for a ceasefire and to stand in solidarity with the extraordinary, unprecedented, and never in our lifetime have we seen the scale of destruction. And we now know the Israeli government intends to continue until 2025. So I implore all of you to see this as an act of solidarity, not an act of division. We are seeing anti-Semitic sentiment. We're seeing Islamophobic sentiment. The only thing that will stop that is to stop the war. We need to put pressure on our federal government. We need to stand in solidarity. We need to not ignore what is being determined as a genocide of a people. And I urge my fellow councillors to hold their humanity close to their heart in making their determination about how they will vote today.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. I'll put it to a vote now. So could I have a show of hands for all those in favour of the motion, please? Councillor Mehmeti and Councillor Garrard. All those against the motion, please. Show of hands. Councillor Trong. Councillor Long. Councillor Tan. Councillor Deputy Mayor Lim. Councillor Dark. Councillor Milkovic. And Councillor Formoso. Thank you. The item is lost. Item 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillor questions. I'll start with you, Councillor Trong.
I don't have a report. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Councillor Mehmeti. Nothing to report. Councillor Garrard. Just your microphone, please. Thanks.
Firstly, I'd just like to pass on my condolences to our CEO and to her family for the tragic loss that she is experiencing, and that we hope that those who are in contact will pass on our deep sadness at this time. So I have a number of questions which I am desperately trying to find, and I found one. So I had a complaint from a resident regarding the difficulty in switching to paper-based rates billing, and in fact I tried the process myself and it was extremely laboured and difficult. And my question is that given that most organisations are promoting digital billing for the cost efficiency and environmental benefits, why is our process to switch to digital billing so onerous, and are there plans to simplify this process?
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. Mr Foley, if you could respond, please. Just your microphone. Thanks.
Thank you for the question, Councillor, and through you, Mayor. Council currently offers digital billing via EasyBill. This provides an electronic accounts service that allows a ratepayer to receive the rates notices through email and then allows them to access the rate notice via their portal. The requirements set up the online account or email address, property number and a password. And EasyBill and Council were currently or continuously reviewing that process to make this as simple as possible for the ratepayer. I will add that we are more broadly looking at things like the broader review of the IT strategy and the digital strategy for Council. We would expect that to line up with things like the customer experience together.
Thanks, Mr Foley. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 5 questions relating to the hub. Do you want me to read them as at once for one reply, or yeah? My questions are around where the progress of the construction of the Keysborough hub is at and whether it's back on schedule, as we saw it delayed significantly last year, and if so, has that been updated on our website? Many residents who in close proximity were complaining of being extremely impacted by the building, excessive dust, traffic and so on. As of last year, there was no appointed communication person for them to contact. I'm just wondering, has that situation now been rectified? Has a communication person been appointed from the council for those residents to liaise with so that they can communicate those difficulties and resolve them quickly? When will the strategic plan be completed and made available to the public? And how will the community be involved in shaping the subsequent operational plan? And will the recruitment of residents for the committee equivalent of the Springvale Community Hub for Keysborough South Community Hub begin? And lastly, what is the strategy for signage of the Keysborough South Community Hub, especially regarding road visibility and clear identification of the community asset for passing drivers?
Thanks, Councillor Garrard. I'll get Mr Jackson to answer part of the questions, and then Ms Gillies will respond to the rest. Thanks.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the questions, Councillor Garrard. Yes, I can give you an update with regards to the construction timing and also with regards to the designated contact, and then Ms Gillies will answer the rest. I can advise that the construction of the hub is now back progressing as scheduled, and also that the Keysborough South Community Hub page on the website is also being now updated with the latest information. So residents should be able to go there to get an update on where we're at, but we are on track. With regards to the designated contact person, we're currently in the process of finalising who that will be, and it's expected that that will be in place by mid-February.
Thanks, Mr Jackson. If Ms Gillies could respond to the remainder. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Garrard. I'll respond to the other elements of your question. So in relation to the construction and the strategic plan timing, we've been awaiting further advancement of the construction of the hub. As has been advised previously, we line up the processes with each other, and hence there's been a hold on commencing that public consultation. This consultation process will now commence around April 2024 and will take place over a minimum of 28 days. The consultation is an imperative part of the operationalising. No, I've lost it. I can say that word normally. Of the hub, and will enable the community to provide feedback and ensure the plan captures and reflects the priorities of the local community. It also commences a process of getting the community engaged, excited about the potential of the future hub, the opening and understanding what might be built into the future hub action plan. The consultation will include direct letters, phone calls to neighbouring residents, direct contact to past consultation participants, contact with local community groups, agencies, schools, social media, the list goes on. Happy to publish that full list for you. In relation to the construction and when will the Community Hub Advisory Committee or equivalent be established, the development of the Keysborough South Community Hub Advisory Committee obviously will require feedback as part of that consultation process. Off the back of that consultation process, as part of the development of the operational plan and strategic plan, we would commence the appropriate processes to engage potential community members to join such a committee. And finally, in relation to the signage, an internal external signage plan for the hub has been completed as part of the detailed design process. This will be further refined as required during the construction stages. This plan incorporates on-site signage, directional and informative signage. As required, additional signage may be implemented from a traffic perspective, and that will require the relevant approvals in terms of potentially Vic roads or other permits that are required.
Thanks, Ms Gillies. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms Gillies. Just a question without notice. Wondering, and it has gone out of my brain, which in relation to... no, it's actually gone out of my brain, so I'll stop there.
That's okay. You can email that at a later stage. Yep. Okay, thanks, Councillor Garrard. Councillor Long.
I don't have a report for tonight, but I have a question which is unusual for me. What is the progress of the hoarder in Prospect Hill Road, Dandenong North? Both Councillor Milkovich and I have been inundated by emails and phone calls from the people who live in that street. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Long. Ms Gillies, if you... Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Long. We'll have to take that question on notice and get back to you as soon as possible. I'll get some more information for you.
I've been told that before and no one gets back to me.
I think that could be Ms Gillies' department now. Jamie Thorley would be across the details, so if we could maybe get...
Correct.
We'll follow it up and get a
Thank
response
you.
to
Sorry
you.
No,
thank you. Thanks, Mr Jackson. We'll get someone to respond to you because of the crossover, Councillor Long, so thank you. Is that all from you? Yep. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I just want to send my condolences to the CEO family and her friends. It is a tragic news for her, and so just waiting to hear the funeral coming up in this week, I believe. So just my sincere condolences to her family. And I just would like to welcome the Executive Director for the Corporate Development, which is Mr. Andrew Foley. So welcome aboard, and just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. And I will table my report for tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Tan. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Lim.
Thank you, Mayor. Probably I'll try to make it as quick as possible because it's a long report. I'm going to email to governance instead. Just a quick report only, probably on a Tuesday just before Christmas. I have to attend coffee with the cop at Dandenong Plaza, and also citizenship ceremony the following day, and after that council volunteer Christmas dinner. After that, George Street, Dandenong multi-purpose courts. I just quickly am going to email the rest of that. And the following Wednesday, attend Samwak Christmas dinner with other member of parliament and so on. And after that, I have Women Southeast Business Network as well, quite a very interaction one. On Thursday, the following Thursday, I have meeting with Springvale, at Springvale with Martin Hilden and Danny Sikorsky, and also Rotary Springvale 30-year celebration, plus Christmas party at Springvale Shopping Centre with Councillor Angela Long, Sophie Tan as well. And the next day, I have school assembly by Springvale Rise and Springvale campuses, and Cornerstone after that, and also Italian Senior Club Christmas party. And the next Saturday, I also attend Springvale Historical Society. And Sunday, I have Springvale Christmas Carol hosted by Vietnamese Evangelical Church in Springvale. And the following Monday, meeting with Mayor Kuk Lam from Maribyrnong Council. She would like to discuss a few things to learn from each other. After that, we have a Christmas dinner ourselves. And the next Wednesday, we launch Lunar New Year with the premiere, with also Councillor Jim Ameti, also our new elected Eden Foster. And after that, I have to attend Springvale graduation ceremony from Springvale Learning Activity Centre on the Thursday, sunrise at Springvale Council staff. That is a great one to catch up with a lot of new stuff that I haven't met them before, or some feedback from them, or learn from them as well. And the Friday, the last one, the Heritage Shield, good to catch up with everyone as well. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That was a short one. Councillor Dark, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just wish to, first of all, wish all residents a Happy New Year. This is the first meeting back. And also, I suppose, well, for this Friday, to have a Good Australia Day out and about. We do have some celebrations. I know it's been all broadcast through council social media at the Drum and around the city. I have a couple of questions this evening. The first question I have is regarding the Dandenong bypass and the overgrown grass. I know I've raised this quite a bit in the past. However, just before Christmas, I purchased a new puppy and actually took the dog for a run over Christmas, New Year, which is seldom because I don't run. And actually, I noticed that the grass is incredibly high. It actually, in some areas, heading up to Perry Road, it's up to my hip level, and I'm 6'4", so it's a good metre off the ground. And there seems to be no action with it either being cut back or mowed or anything like that at all. And then further to that, I was at the Keysborough South Woolworths getting some stuff the other night, and it was raised to me by a resident as well, who said that it's no longer safe for them to run along the path. They're worried that there's snakes, and with the reporting of snakes in the Keysborough notice board and other social media, that they're worried that there's going to be snakes within that tall grass as well. I explained to him that it's actually not something that council's responsible for, but in fact the Department of Transport. But there's not a overlap, there's not a clear line between what is council managed and maintained and what is state government maintained, Department of Transport, and that's causing a lot of issues not only for me but also Councillor Garrard's ward as well. If we could please just find it from the relevant officer what is going on, and one, and two, whether we can get some sort of work order out to them, actually get them to do something.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Dark. If I could get Mr Jackson to respond, and I also have a very similar question that's related to that, so that'd be great. Thanks.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Dark. Yes, it is always a challenge where the line begins and ends in terms of Department of Transport and Council. I will ask the team tomorrow to see if they can provide a clearer delineation of what we're responsible and what we're not, and what we can do moving forward to resolve that issue as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Jackson. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. My second question is regarding the former Keysborough Park Primary School. I know I've raised this in the past as well. The site has come to a standstill well before Christmas and nothing is certainly happening on site. Residents have been asking if there is any update on exactly what is happening, what's planned.
Mr Jackson, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you again for the question. I'll need to follow that one up tomorrow and I can give you an update following that.
Thanks, Mr Jackson. Thanks, Councillor Dark. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I only have one question tonight. I received correspondence from one of the officers just, I think in November, December, something like that, regarding road resurfacing on Brady Road between Central Avenue and Shalimar Crescent, and also Dorset Road and Arkle Drive. They were supposed to be completed in early January. Could we just get an update, or could I get an update? Obviously it hasn't happened as yet, but when is it planned? Has it been pushed back for any particular reason, or is there anything happening anytime soon? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Milkovich. Mr Jackson, please.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Milkovich. I'll get the team to provide an update to you in the coming days on that one.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'd also like to wish everyone a happy new year and welcome to 2024. We've got a lot of projects and things that we need to accomplish as a council, so I'm looking forward to starting that process this year. Also, once again, would like to send my sincere condolences to Jackie Weatherall and the entire family. We will be sending flowers and a card. I will also be tabling the events and things that I've attended since last year. There obviously were a lot of events with the Christmas and New Year celebrations, and I only had a few days break, so it's good to see all of us back in action and getting things done for our community. Ms Gillies, you will table the questions taken on notice at last council meeting?
Will indeed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 7, urgent business, as there is no urgent business. Item 8, close of business at 8:37 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and good night.